Hello and welcome back to the Doctor Who Marathon. I'm your host McEdam, and today we're going to be talking about The Rescue by David Whittaker, directed by Christopher Barry. Now before I begin, I just need to state out something. Right, this story, it's the introduction to a companion, Vicky. Now, a lot of people, including myself, used to think that Vicky was just a basic replacement for Susan. However, I've seen this video on YouTube by Lord Slarr, who's a fantastic Doctor Who YouTube channel. Go check his stuff out. I might put the video in the description about how Vicky is actually his favourite companion. And I've just watched that, and I'm hoping that because of seeing all of his good points, that I'm going to watch these stories with her much more fondly as I did than I did before. However, The Rescue I already enjoyed before watching it. I really enjoyed The Rescue. As I've said before with The Edge of Destruction, I really like David Whittaker's writing, and Christopher Barry, who's directed some episodes of The Dalek, is a fantastic director who comes back for The Rescue. So this is the first time they've both returned for the series. This is a two-part story, so there's not a lot to cover, so let's just delve right in. We see Ian and Barbara at the start of it, and they notice that the Doctor's sleeping through when the TARDIS is travelling, which is very unlike the Doctor, and they both point this out. And they wake up the Doctor, and there's this really funny line when Barbara says the trembling has stopped, and the Doctor pats her on the shoulder and is just like, "Oh, I'm so happy that you're all well and better again." And she's like, "No, the TARDIS has stopped trembling. We've stopped." And then the Doctor's like, "Oh my word!" Looks at the TARDIS consoles. And that was a very funny scene. And then they go outside, but the Doctor doesn't seem that interested. He tells them, "Don't stray too far to the TARDIS, and I'll see you later." And they ask him where he's going. He's going back to the TARDIS to have a nap. So very undoctory in this. He seems very like he's got he's a very old man. He's very tired. He's worn out. But he's very joyful in this one as well, which I think contradicts his little story arc in this. There's also a scene where before they leave the TARDIS, and he says, it's like, "Will you open the door, Susan?" And then there's like a moment of silence. And then Barbara's like, "Why don't you show me how to open the doors?" And that was just a small, sweet moment. But yeah, the Doctor's this is probably the Doctor gets more and more jolly in this series. And none is it shown better when he meets Vicky, which we will get into. So, as our TARDIS crew are exploring these caves, somewhere outside we meet Vicky, a sort of somebody who was assigned to the ship, so with her father after her mother died, and the ship crash land, only leaving two survivors, her and this guy called Bennett, who he's sort of crippled, and he kind of takes advantage of Vicky, telling her what to do and what not to do, and what basically, and is really shouted compared to her. And it doesn't also help that they are held prisoner by a creature called Coquillion, a native to this planet, Dido, and he holds them prisoner for reasons that are not very clear, other than to stay in and look after the surrounding area. And he doesn't know yet that Vicky has a rescue ship coming for her in the next few days. But until that time comes, Bennett tells her to basically do everything that Coquillion has demanded of her. And you really feel really bad for Vicky. She's very sweet and innocent, and for most characters that would just be a boring, bland character arc. However, Maureen O'Brien is a great actress. I don't think she's as good as Carol Ann Ford, but that's not fair on her part. she's very sweet, she's very innocent. The way she smiles is just puts a warm heart to you thing. And I love how innocent she is, and how she looks at everything with open eyes. Very much different to Susan. With Susan, it was a bit more. She does like to wander and stuff, but she does like to keep to herself. Whilst here, Vicky, she is just full blown like an adventurer. You could see it that she just loves seeing everything. She even has a pet Dido creature, which I thought was really sweet. And the effect on this creature is hilarious. He kind of like wraps. So this guy dressed up and he's wrapped himself around and has one of the Dido masks, which I found pretty funny. So that was a great great little character beat that she has. But she's also she does also keep to herself, as of course she's got this whole issue with Bennett, who she sees as a sort of father figure at the moment, even if he is not very nice to her. And she's got Coquillian always questioning her and debating around her and suspicious and threatening her and all that. So it really shows that she does have a lot of depth in this two-parter. I mean, it's not going to be groundbreaking. I doubt it's going to, like, if you hated this kind of character, I doubt it's going to change your mind or anything. But it is very well handled. David Whittaker did a very good job here. Back to the TARDIS crew. Ian and Barbara are wandering in the caves, and they meet up with Coquillian, and they reveal that they're with another TARDIS crew, and he asks them to go and fetch him. But as Ian walks off, he kind of stops Barbara, and he's like, "Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you," and then pushes her off a cliff. Oh god! And then he turns around and uses this like device to blow up the mountains and to make boulders. Now we cut back to the Doctor in the TARDIS, and he's talking to himself, and he explains that he's been here before and the people here are very lovely. And there's a bit where he's basically talking to the camera and he's like, "Should I tell Ian and Barbara that it's deliberate? No, I shouldn't, because they thought I was sleeping through the travel, so they think it's a mistake." So it's a very small bit. It's only literally just like seconds. It has nothing to do with anything, but I personally found that bit really interesting. Has the Doctor stopped trying to get Ian and Barbara back to Earth? I have a nice little fan theory that after Susan left, or maybe even before Susan left, he got so attached to Ian and Barbara that he didn't want him to leave, and so he tried to get him back to Earth, but not really. So maybe this is a concrete evidence that is true, because from Ian and Barbara's point of view, he can't fly the TARDIS that well, and he's been trying to get them back to 1960s Earth, and he keeps failing to. But maybe he just wanted to keep them around because he likes them so much. I think that's a much great way of watching this story. So there you go. However, the Doctor hears the banging outside, and he tries to rescue Ian. And they trying to move the boulders along, but they can't. And they're worried that Barbara is going to be trapped. However, they do find like another little tunnel, so they go through there, and it's like a Indiana Jones kind of thing where there's like spikes and there's like hedge cliffs and there's a giant monster at the bottom of it, and even like that's the cliffhanger with the two spikes from each side come from Ian onto a cliff, and then whilst that's happening, slowly more knife things come poking out from the floor, pushing him off to the floor, and that's our cliffhanger. Very well handled. I liked it. It wasn't as threatening as others, and it was obvious that Ian was going to get out of it some way, but it was good for a little short two-part story. Back to Vicky. She meets up with Coquillian, and he explains that there was a crew on the mountains. However, he's killed them all and don't even like hope of rescue. And you can see Vicky, she's kind of down about it, but she was optimistic that someone is going to save her. Earlier on in the story, she kind of like picks up the TARDIS's signal. She doesn't know it's the TARDIS yet. She thinks it's a rescue crew who's appeared weeks early, and she's very. You can see her optimism shine out with those smiles and the way she speaks. And then back to now, when Quillian leaves, she picks up some blankets, and we see Barbara. She's alive. She survived her cliff fall, and Vicky then came and rescued her. And then she goes to explain to Bennett. Now Bennett seems really cross about this, and it's like, you're going to jeopardize everything. If Quillian finds out, he's going to murder us all if she's alive. So just make her basically help you with the surrounding area, what Quillian's jobs to do. Don't ask her for help. Don't ask her to rescue us. Just do what she said. Just do what Quillian tells us to do, and we'll be safe. And then Barbara's kind of like say like, thank you for taking me in and stuff, but he kind of slams the door in her face, and you do kind of get to see the abusive nature of Bennett and Vicky here. Like I said before, sci-fi every story, especially sci-fi stories, are in a way politically charged. And here, the story about like a sort of abusive father figure to his daughter, and how this daughter character isn't allowed to grow her own life, basically, is the moral of the story. How an abusive parentage can halt the way the characters can see each other, and I think it really works here. So Vicky starts doing her morning routine, and Barbara's watching her, and she sees a monster coming up to her, the Sandy monster. And what she does is she gets the flare gun, and she tells Vicky to get out of the way. And Vicky's shouting no to Barbara, but Barbara shoots the monster. Now this plays into Barbara's character, that she is very, very not paranoid, but very defensive. And in her mind, she's seen a monster just slightly going up to Vicky, and she shoots it. But Vicky reveals then it was her pet Sandy, and she hates Barbara for this. And then during this scene, Ian and the doctor, who have now escaped the caves, have come to meet Vicky and Barbara, and the scene of them all meeting up to each other is very well handled. There's a great bit where she feels really bad. Vicky feels really sad of her pet, and that nobody can see Bennett because he's always cross all the time and he likes to be by himself. So I love this bit where the doctor, Vicky is kind of like in the foreground, and the doctor and the crew in the background. Without even saying anything, the doctor kind of like looks at Ian and Barbara and gives them like a little signal, and they leave. And then the scene here with the doctor and Vicky is just heartwarming. Like I said before, the doctor here, everybody pictures the first doctor as this grumpy old man, but he's really a very sweet, innocent gentleman. And when he's talking to Vicky, and it's like, you shouldn't be angry at Barbara, she thought that your life was in danger. She was trying to help you. And the way William Hartnell just smiles at her, you can really see that Vicky is kind of like the cure to him missing Susan. And that scene where it's just them two by themselves is probably, in my opinion, one of the greatest scenes of the First Doctor era. Just absolutely heartwarming. And he talks about how Vicky has been by herself, and he understands why he's angry and upset, and why she's upset, and how that with them being there kind of jeopardizes their lives with Quillian. And the doctor's like, I understand, I know, and believe me, we are not going to put you in any more danger. We are here to simply help. And the way he just says it is just so, just something about it is very, just gold. The twinkle in William Hartnell's eyes is just fantastic. But then the next scene the next little bit then I thought was pretty funny. The doctor asks to meet with Bennett, and she then is like, okay. And she meets, and she kind of leads him to the door, and the doctor tells her to walk back off, to go back to Ian and Barbara. And while she walks out, the doctor tries opening the door, but it doesn't, like, it jugs open, and you can hear Bennett saying, you can't come in. And he kind of like pushes the door. Well, yeah, then he gets like a bit of debris and just whacks the door, doof, 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 like that, and it cuts to Vicky, and you can hear the sound still going in the background. That made me laugh really hard. It's like she's just met this sweet, innocent man, and she's going to talk to this guy. She wanders off, and all you can hear is just beating noise. Poof. Like, I wonder what was going through her head at that moment, as if like the sweet, innocent man is trying to break down this guy's door. Bloody hell. Ian and Barbara walk in, and then Vicky does apologise for being so angry at Barbara, and then Barbara kind of explains that they are time travellers and they haven't been around, so they've had like loads of experiences with dangers, and that she left Earth in 1963. And Vicky there's a very funny line in which Vicky turns and is like, that must mean you're like 5,000 years old or something. And you can see Jacqueline Hill's face when she says that. It just makes me, and Ian Chesterton laughing at the situation is just brilliant. But then back to the doctor, he opens the door and Bennett isn't there, and he's wandering around, and he pulls like a lever, and there's like a trap door, and the doctor's giggling to himself, and so he goes into the door. And then we cut to Ian and Barbara and Vicky, and they're like, maybe they're taking a while, let's go and see what they're up to. And then they reveal that they're gone as well, and they're like, maybe we should go back into the TARDIS. Now this bit I found a little bit disappointing for this story. With the introduction of Vicky, I really think that Vicky should have been a part of the finale, especially how this story was very personal to her. So it did kind of let itself down on that remark. Like, we were building up this new companion, and it was very well handled. But I really wish that she went with the doctor during the trapdoor scene. Maybe she should have gone with him if it would have been better written. So later on we see the doctor in this like hall, and this hall reminds me a lot of the final fight between Harry Potter and Voldemort in The Philosopher's Stone. That bit where they're in the hall with the mirror out. Something about it, with the atmosphere, the slowly smog, the darkness in the background. It just fits that atmosphere. And we get a very rare scene of the Doctor confronting the villain all by himself. And that warm, charming old man is not here. He confronts Coquillion down to his grim. And there's a great bit where he doesn't even look in the background, and he's like, I was wondering when you'd get here. And you can see Coquillion kind of like walk towards the Doctor, and before you even turn around, he's like, you know, Bennett, those costumes were made by the people of Dido, the lovely people of Dido, as a religious ceremony only. And he takes the mask off, and it's Bennett. So that was a great twist. It wasn't as strong as it should have been. I think it kind of does let alone to the fact that this is a two-part story, and the fact that Vicky isn't there, so Vicky doesn't have that big reaction to finding out. But it is very good, and it is very well handled, and it keeps... Something I noticed as well about this story, the cast is very small, and I think that really works here with the introduction of Vicky. We've only got our three TARDIS crew, Vicky, who joins the TARDIS crew, and our main villain. So there's literally just a cast of 5. So I think it really gets out loads of character beats out in this story. So the Doctor confronts Bennett about what's been happening, and he explains that when they were on the ship in space, he killed a crew member, and to cover his tracks, basically, he caused an explosion and crashed the ship on the planet Dido, and he killed all of the members, took one of their uniforms, and kind of tortured the only surviving member other than him, which was Vicky. So Vicky can back up his story that the murderers are all the people of Dido, and that the people of Dido should be the ones basically locked up for the murders of the crew. So this guy's basically a psychopath. I personally really like how they don't go too in depth, like why he killed that person, what's his motivations. It keeps everything nice and mysterious and dark. This scene is very gothic. It's very, like I said, there's a lot of smoke, and the way he explains it as well, it does get a lot of gothic elements out there. And then something happens that we rarely any see. The Doctor, the first Doctor, in an action scene. It only lasts for a few seconds, but it really works when you see the Doctor grabbing the device that made them blow up the mountain, and the way it struggles and how quick everything goes really makes your heart go. They drop it, and then the Doctor gets a stick, and the guy gets like a chair, and the Doctor bloody whacks the chair. And just to see like an elderly William Hartnell do this is really funny, but it happens to no effect, and so Bennett pushes him to the side and grabs his neck, and the fight is really brutal. It doesn't feel like any fake choreography is going on. It generally feels like these two are fighting it out to the death. However, once this happens, two people, which are the citizens of Dido, come out to appear, and Bennett looks at them and it's like, you can't be here, you're dead, you're dead! Which, now looking at it in 2020, is really funny, because that's like a funny meme thing, where it's like somebody who you thought was dead isn't actually. So looking back, it's actually pretty funny, but back then it must have been like a nice little mystery twist. It's something about it just fits the atmosphere that these people who thought were dead. So they're kind of like ghosts. And I like how they don't even say anything. They don't really do anything. They just walk in unison together, and they go up to Bennett, and Bennett, terrified, kind of walks back, and he walks off a cliff. And then they turn to the Doctor, and the Doctor passes out, and then he wakes up back in the TARDIS. Which then, I don't like that aspect of it, how the Doctor just suddenly wakes up in the TARDIS. It feels very anticlimactic. However, he explains to Ian and Barbara that Quilliam was Bennett, and he wants to speak to Vicky, and they say that she's outside the TARDIS waiting, and he's like, I really need to speak to her, and he kind of legs it out there, and it keeps to Ian and Barbara, and they're talking that maybe they should keep Vicky onto the crew, and then it cuts to the Doctor and Vicky, and I love this really heartwarming scene, and he basically explains to her that even though she basically got messed up, that she shouldn't really lose hope, she should keep her optimistic ways. But Vicky is like, my mother is dead, my father is dead, and the only real father figure I had was basically a murderer, hooray! And the Doctor feels really bad for her, and so we finally get the first time the Doctor invites somebody as a TARDIS member. That's something that most people don't really talk about, the rescue. Susan, we don't know what happened to her. Presumably she was just caught up in the rush of trying to leave the home planet, and Ian and Barbara kind of pushed themselves into the TARDIS, and the TARDIS took away them, and they just couldn't get back to Earth. So this is the first time that the Doctor invites somebody onto the TARDIS, because he he genuinely wants their company and to see the universe travel through their eyes. So this, in my opinion, this is where his story arc kind of ends, and this is where he becomes the Doctor that we all know and love. From here on out, he is the Doctor. He is a lovable, charming. He might be a bit grumpy because of his old age, but he always has great intentions. So the rescue, that's how the rescue proceeds. And then there's a great bit where he leaves her out in the TARDIS and says that he let her think about it for a bit. And he goes into the TARDIS, and Ian and Barbara are like, we've got an idea about Vicky. And he says, I can see by our faces that we've all come up with the same conclusion. So I love that bit. And they turn around and they say for Vicky to come in, and she comes in, and she's the first time since an unearthly child that somebody's come into the TARDIS and seen the wonders of seeing it bigger on the inside. So Vicky is kind of like the first traditional companion in a way. And because she's the first one to do these kind of things, it's very heartwarming to see it from her point of view. So, and then that's the rescue. Overall, I personally enjoy it. It gets underrated. Most people think it's kind of just a two-part fluff. Not bad, not good, but just sort of a bunch of scenes for a while until the ending. But I personally really enjoyed it. David Whittaker does a very good job. Christopher Barry gets a great way of getting the atmosphere across. It feels it has some really heartwarming moments. There's very gothic moments. And together, it just comes up with a nice two-part adventure. I don't think it'll be remembered particularly well with other greater stories, but I'm glad that I watched it. And Vicky is a great character to be introduced to the series. Whether she continues to be a great companion or whether she is the Susan replacement that we all remember her to be, I'm going to keep watching these. I've seen them all before, but on this rewatch with that video I mentioned at the start in mind, I'm hoping that I will see her character arc much more fondly this time. So there you go, the rescue. So join me next time where we go to ancient Rome and we have a nice little comical adventure. I'll see you all next time on the Doctor Who Marathon.